Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I got three special guests with me today to talk about our top 10 1960s movies. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in everybody and have them introduce themselves. Go ahead and bring in everybody and have them introduce themselves. Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Go ahead and bring in everybody and have them introduce themselves. Hello. I hear
Someone's echoing here.
Yeah, there's a bit of an echo.
Yeah. It was myself. Hello.
Yeah, if you have the YouTube video open in another tab, on the other tab.
It was myself. Hello.
Yeah, if you have the YouTube video open in another tab. This is amazing.
Okay, I don't have it on my end.
Yeah, if you have the YouTube video open in another tab. This is amazing.
Okay, I don't know what's going
All right.
Well,
Okay, I think we got it.
okay.
You got it. Yeah.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Off to a great start. This is great.
Going live, right?
Yeah.
But why don't I have everyone introduce themselves and talk about your channel or your Instagram page, whatever it may be, and what you love about the 60s.
I guess I can go. So I'm Michelle. My YouTube channel is The Awkward Actor. It's intentionally misspelled. Don't worry. But yeah, I don't really post often, but there's like a genuine love and appreciation that I have for film, and I guess what will then be sort of like highlighted here, like my love of films from the 60s because of like a lot of the influence that those movies have had over my love of film and sort of forming, I guess, my opinions on the medium, and yeah, also like a diehard theater kid. So that might give you a bit of an idea about some of the movies that'll be on this list already. But yeah, just happy to be here. Yeah,
That's great.
Should I or should you?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
My name is Adrien. My Instagram account, I don't have a YouTube channel yet, but my Instagram account is Tarana Cinema. What it does is it tries to honor the entirety of cinema from 1888 to Marvel. And going there slowly but surely, film by film, director by director. Right now we're at the end of the 30s, and we're about to start the 40s on my page. And what I love about the 60s, it's that it's probably the single greatest decade in world cinema. France, Italy, Japan, America, it all came together in the 60s. And so I'm excited to see what you guys have in store for us, and yeah, to talk about it.
That's great.
Oh.
Awesome. I'm Nathan from Nathan Hale Classics. So YouTube channel is Nathan Hale Classics. Instagram is @cinema_Nate. Instagram page, it's more so kind of behind the scenes of what I'm watching, and I'll also do like tournaments. I've been doing it for a little bit, but recently I've kind of put more emphasis on doing the tournaments and everything. And then on YouTube, I just try to talk about the classics. I veer away from time to time, but for the most part, I mean, recently I did a top 10 favorite movies from Charles Laughton, and then I have some other plans. I'm preparing for August because it's Alfred Hitchcock month on my channel. So I have some plans in store, and I just love talking about classics. Now, it's great. 60s is a great decade. I always love looking at my Letterboxd stats and looking at like what decades I rate the highest. And for me, it's actually 50s, 40s, and 60s. Those are like the top three. And so each decade means a lot. And I was looking at my list before the show started, and I'm excited to talk today. So thank you again for having me and all of us, Harrison.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you so much for coming on, guys. And sorry we had to reschedule it. I was going over the weather last month. But,
That's right.
but I'm super excited to have you all here today. And I guess for those who are new, I'm Harrison Scullin, and I have a channel called Really Old Movies. It's a podcast dedicated to films released between 1890 and 1965, so kind of around Adrien. So getting a phone call. Decline. And new episodes are released once a week on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And then just recently, I started doing live streams. That's what this is. This is the, I want to say it's the 5th one I've done. I can't remember now, but I'm just getting into YouTube again. I had another channel where I did that, but I'm liking the live streaming a little bit more than more production style. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. And we'll go ahead and get into our list now. So the way I have it set up is we'll start off with Michelle, then Adrien, then Nathan, and then me. And got it all compiled here in the list. So without further ado, let's bring up our list. All right, number 10 for Michelle.
Right. So number 10 for me is Bonnie and Clyde. Now, this is one that, like, when I saw it, I had very minimal expectations because, frankly, my dad said that he hated it. Well, no. That's a little too far. He just thought it was like subpar or something or whatever. But I remember it was strangely my friends who are like not as like cinema-y as like I am. Who were like, "Hey, we really want to watch this movie," and I was like, "Okay, I guess I should watch it. I guess because it's, I don't know, a classic or whatever." And like, I think because of those minimal expectations I had for it, I was really surprised at how engrossing it was, and just like the real chemistry between. Why am I blanking out on their names now? But it's
Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, and yeah, I just remember like it was like this like really special moment where like my friends and I were like really able to bond over like this movie that was released in, I think it was 67. And as you'll see later down on this list, like 67 and 68 are like such like superb years for like movies from the 60s. And 67 was like this sort of pivotal year where I guess that's kind of a bit of a rabbit hole that maybe we can go down later. But it's, you know, this really significant year. Sorry if I'm rambling, but yeah, it's sort of one of those movies that sort of surpassed the expectations I initially had for it, and now like has like a really special place for me personally. So,
and I think what you meant to say, Michelle, is that the Bonnie and Clyde was the transition between Golden Age Hollywood and New Hollywood, correct?
Yes.
And as the first one to reel in the new American cinema.
Yeah, because like technically, well, also like in like the late 60s, like even though like the Hays Code was technically like eliminated, I guess in 68, I believe.
Right.
But like films like in the 60s pretty much were like ignoring the rules by that point.
Right.
But it was sort of like Bonnie and Clyde that kind of like cemented that sort of the days of the Hays Code were like, you know, going down and whatever.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry if I'm not articulating this.
Especially. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to Adrien's number 10.
Wow. A little bit different. Has everyone seen it? Because it is a spoiler kind of a. Harrison?
I have not.
You have not?
I
Nathan?
haven't seen it.
Okay. Then I can't.
I know about it. I know about it.
So I can't really spoil the ending because it really is truly original, let's say, and unusual, especially for a horror film, especially for an American horror film. But I think the greatness of this film, and that's in 1968, so that's 1 year. Sorry, are you guys hearing an echo from my sounds? Let me just let me take that out. 1 sec. Sorry about that. No.
Bernardo.
Notifications. God damn it. There you go. Boom. All right. There should be no more sounds. the horror really comes from the setup, and it comes from there not being that many horrific moments. It really comes down to eerie atmosphere and brilliant set pieces and mise en scène that only Polanski could do. It really almost is a one location film. There's many locations, but it almost feels like it's all set in one apartment, and the horrific atmosphere and elements creep in to the film slowly and slowly, and that makes it one of the scariest, psychological scariest film of that era in the world. So yeah.
You're here. I wish I could say something else to that.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
great review of it.
Yeah.
All right. Nathan, you're number 10.
My number 10 is The Apartment, directed by Billy Wilder, one of the greats. This was a movie that, upon first watch, I was very confused of how it won Best Picture and how it was so well revered. I must have been having a bad day or something, because I watched it in high school and it didn't connect with me. And I rewatched it a little over a year ago, almost 2 years ago now, probably. And I was just shocked with how good it was, how mature it was, how ahead of its time it was. And that was really Billy Wilder with a lot of his movies. His scripts feel very ahead of their time. Some things, I mean, the movie talks about so many different things. It talks about having affairs on your spouse, and it talks about suicide, and it talks about the real struggles of life and depression. And it just wasn't something that I was expecting from a movie made so early. Especially, it was not even like it was later on in the decade. It was 1960. Jack Lemmon, he is a bit of a ham actor to me, where he kind of hams up all of his roles, and it honestly annoys me more than entertains me. But this movie, although it's there still, I think he still does a really good job. I mean, he would have had to do a good job, otherwise I wouldn't have it in my top 10. But I think I just like the little moments in this movie. Have any of you seen this one?
I've seen this one.
I have actually not seen this one.
Oh wow! Okay, we almost got everyone. No, that's okay. I was just gonna say, there's a particular scene with the mirror that it's just one of those moments where it's just Billy Wilder, man. I love the little moment, and the movie also plays tricks on you too, where you think one thing's happening and a different thing happens. So, just really enjoyable movie. Highly recommend, especially for if you're looking for a more mature drama of the 60s decade.
There's also the ending of The Apartment. I mean, Billy Wilder and his endings. It's some of the coolest
yes,
in cinema, especially that one. I don't want to spoil it, but the dialogue at the end is almost as good as Some Like It Hot's ending. Almost. Yeah,
Some Like It Hot. That's probably like the icon. That's like probably the number one Billy Wilder. That or Sunset Boulevard too. I
think it's Some Like It Hot.
Yeah,
for me, it's Some Like It Hot for sure.
I mean, it's on his own gravestone. That the quote from
the quote.
Yeah. So
nobody's perfect.
Exactly. So yeah, I just love Billy Wilder. Anyways, Harrison, take it away.
All right. So my number 10 is actually a comedic film. It's a mad world. Or as you say, Nathan, mad to the fourth power world.
Yes, I was just gonna say, my friends and I call it's a mad to the fourth power world.
Yeah. It's too long of a title, but I really love this movie. I love the whole heist part of it. Like, they're all chasing after the same, I think it was like $10 million or something like that. But under the big W, I love that. Love the actors in it. So many great comedic ones. Even Buster Keaton makes a cameo in it. I love that. I'm really into comedies, so that's why I really like this one, and it's my number 10. Has anyone else besides Nathan seen this movie?
I have not.
It's always been on a list, but then it's a 3-hour comedy. And so
it is long. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, now it's going to take me even longer to watch it.
Right. It's a 3-hour comedy, so I was like,
well, that's why
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, I've only seen it once, and I want to rewatch it, but it's such a big commitment to even rewatch it. But yeah, it's so zany, and I'm glad. I have to quickly say, I'm glad that a Stanley Kramer movie at least made it on the list, since Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was an honorable mention for me. So
And
spotlight on Stanley Kramer.
It's so rare. I think that a comedy's 3 hours long.
Yeah,
You know, it's I've never seen that before or heard of it. You know.
Yeah,
and it works too. Yeah, like from what I remember, it's a bunch of different stories. They're all going after the money, and it's all of them kind of coming together. But you watch each of their stories in the process, and yeah, like Harrison said, a ton of notable, well-known actors in it, and it's just a really fun time and really zany moments. Like I just have random like visions of the scenes that happen in this movie without any context, and I'm like, that's such a weird like movie, but that's why I love it, of course. But there's just like so many random scenes.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna watch it. It was just a question of when, you know, because it's so long, it's such a commitment.
Sure.
But yeah, for sure.
for sure. Real quick, Movie Geek put his top 10 in the list. Let me pull that up real quick.
Oh, nice.
We got Harakiri, 2001.
Ooh, Harakiri, love that film. Harakiri is one of the greatest Japanese film of all time.
I need to see that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Sound of Music, West Side Story,
Of
Good,
course.
Bad, the Ugly, Once Arabia, To Kill Wilson. All right, well, stick around. A lot of these are on this list.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
these will be
absolutely.
familiar. And number one, Bernardo. I didn't realize that was your number one. That's awesome.
Sadly, I've only seen like 3 of the movies on there, but it's like I love the 60s, but I know that there's like this whole like gold mine. Well, there's
For
so
sure.
many other gold mines from the 60s where like I haven't hit there yet, you know.
For sure.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll move on to our number 9s now. So take it away, Michelle.
Right. So my number 9 is In the Heat of the Night. I saw this, I think it was, like a year ago from now or something. And I know that, like beforehand, I had seen like a couple of Sidney Poitier's films before, but I had never gotten around to seeing In the Heat of the Night. So when the July Criterion sale came around, I was like, okay, I'm finally going to watch this movie. And it was somehow even better than I thought it was going to be. Like sort of similar to sort of what your thoughts were, Nathan. I remember when you like talked about it was like you were going into it thinking, oh yeah, this will like hope this is good, but like it's like, wow, that actually like had so much more depth and power to it. And excuse me. I feel like it's kind of like amazing, but also really depressing how like these movies from the 60s, like all these years later, like, you know, this is still kind of stuff that we're struggling with. And like, it's hard for people like get that in their heads, you know? And it's especially interesting to see it like when like much older movies are talking about it and to see, okay, how similar is it to like these sort of things being talked about today? And when it's very similar, it's like, okay, that's really, really sad. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's a very, very effective movie, but it's also like entertaining as well because like it keeps you on the edge of your seat, you know. And I just think it's a really great movie and probably like a Best Picture winner that maybe should be getting more attention, you know. Like it definitely has esteem, but maybe not as much as like a title like Titanic or like, you know, these much bigger sort of like movies that have won Best Picture.
It also the came out in 1967, so same year as Bonnie and Clyde.
2 movies from 67 already.
and also like it is quite impressive that a film like that made in the U.S. Just after the Civil Rights Movement, in the midst of the Civil Rights Movement era, to courage to come out with that and for the subject matter to be this controversial.
Yeah, and
and
it's also like, oh, you go.
Yeah, no, and it helping the transition just as much as Bonnie and Clyde. We don't remember as such, but in the heat of the night is a film that is just as important, even more so than Bonnie and Clyde. I think in the transition of old Hollywood to new Hollywood, and I think subject matters like that did not exist before. And in general, the 60s is the Poitiers decade.
Oh, totally.
Like the Raisin in the Sun, and in the heat of the night, and the Who's Coming to Dinner. I mean, they all treat they all treat the same subject, similar subjects. So that's always fascinating to see that in that era they were willing to come out with that honestly and to show an honest depiction of certain parts of America and society.
I'll throw out there too, just for anyone who's interested, they're playing the anniversary in the heat of the night in the theaters this October. So anyone who's
Really
wanting to
excited,
see it in theaters, I've been wanting to rewatch it, but I purposely held off on rewatching it so I can see it in the theaters this October. But yeah, I agree, Michelle. Great movie, one that I knew was going to be good, at least like a little good, because it was a Best Picture winner. But I'd never seen a Poitiers film. I knew I liked. Why did I like Rod Steiger? There's a reason I liked Rod Steiger. I can't think of why, but I can't think of what movie I had seen him in that I liked him in. But
he's amazing in the heat of the night.
Oh yeah,
their relationship is so it's so unexpected. It's incredible.
Yeah. So when I saw it, I think it just like exceeded all expectations. But yeah, well said.
Maybe you were talking about On the Waterfront with Rod Steiger?
Well, so I know I'd seen him in that, but I haven't seen that since high school, so I didn't remember him in that, and I still haven't rewatched it. I saw The Pawnbroker, but I can't remember if that was before or after I saw it in the heat of the night. But it might have been Pawnbroker, because he was nominated for that, but he didn't win. He should have won, honestly. But
gotcha.
Amazing, yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm adding this one to my list. I have not seen this one yet.
So Criterion too.
Yep.
All right, Adrien, you're number 9 now.
Well, of course.
Oh, nice.
Greatest comedy of all time. I've already said that for Some Like It Hot.
Oh, that's
no, it's better, in my opinion. I think it's better. Yeah, I mean, the Doctor Strangelove is the greatest satire on war I've ever seen. I think. The Peter Sellers playing 3 different characters is genius. It's beyond genius. And his performances in each is so telling of the story it's trying to say, of the irony, the dramatic irony of the entire film. It's incredible in every single sense of the word. And have you all seen it?
I've seen it once, and I need to rewatch it. But I remember thinking it was funny when I saw it.
It's hilarious. Like when I watched the first time, I was, it took me a while to get into it. But I remember the second time, and especially the third time, I
think that's how it's going to be for me. I think also because I saw it younger, I probably just didn't appreciate what it was going for.
Exactly.
So I really need to rewatch it.
Exactly. Same, actually. I saw it when I was 15, I think, the first time.
Yeah, I think I was 15 also, actually.
Yeah. And then more.
Nice.
Harrison, have you seen it?
Yeah, but like 10 years ago.
Right. But I mean, the whole idea of the Cold War, of making a satire in the Cold War in the midst of the Cold War, is something only Kubrick could have done, and could have done so efficiently, and so on point. So,
Michelle, have you seen this one?
I have not.
Dang it! I thought we almost got all around.
Kubrick is like one of my like weak spot. It's more of like there's like those select directors who like are like these essential people to like see their work, but I just like haven't gotten around to seeing them. Like kind of applies for like someone like Francis Ford Coppola, Stanley Kubrick, Martin Scorsese. I have barely seen any of their movies, and I know I should, but it's like. But I'd rather watch these other movies,
Yeah.
But this is actually surprisingly entertaining. Once you get into the flow of it, The humor is.
I technically own the movie because, like, my dad was like, "Hey, I found this boxed set of Stanley Kubrick movies. You haven't seen any of them. Here." That's a lie. But no, like, I've seen The Shining. I've seen that once. It was a while ago. But yeah, like, I have this boxed set of, like, his essential movies that, yeah, I think Kubrick is probably one of my dad's favorite directors. I'm just getting that vibe from him, even though he's never flat out said it. I like his favorite movies include like 2001, like I think also Doctor Strangelove and Full Metal Jacket. So
And it must have been surreal to have watched that in the 60s, in the midst of the Cold War, when anyone, when the scare was real, and it could, the people thought it could have happened at any time, any point in time. So to watch a comedy on it is so ballsy, and it's unreal to think about. So yeah, it stood the test of time to this day. I mean, the ending is so perfect when he drops the bomb, and the song is incredible. We'll meet again. I mean, 100%. So yeah.
All right. We'll move on to Nathan's number 9. Get this. There we go.
There it is. Have we all seen this one?
Oh, fuck.
Yes. I think so.
Yes, okay.
we have one that we've all seen now.
Okay, cool. We did it. I wouldn't be surprised if this is on your guys' list too. But yeah, so it's pretty low on my list only because it's a 9 out of 10 for me. It's still got to get that 10 out of 10, but everywhere else on the list is a 10 out of 10 for me. So that's why this ranks so low. But West Side Story, I don't really know what to say about it, and I'm sure there'll be more said even later. But it's just the classic Romeo and Juliet on the streets, and has a lot to talk about with race, a lot of subjects to tackle. The music is great. The balcony scene when they sing Tonight, it's just absolutely amazing. I have a hard time. I still am conflicted of if I like this one more or the Steven Spielberg, because I think that Spielberg one he hit it out of the park with that one. But I think overall I would just say I love the whole aesthetic of it. I love how is it the Jets and the Sharks?
Yeah.
Okay. I love how when they're walking in the street, they're not walking, they're strutting, they're snapping their fingers, they incorporate dances into their movements, how it's choreography, but they make it look cool because they're still on the streets and they're still gangsters, if you will. Yeah, and so I think that's a really cool way of tying that in. And plus, it's just I think it's a beautiful story. I know that some people, my friend Jackson, don't like it, but I think it's a beautiful story.
Can't talk about it too much because that's going to be on my list.
Okay, cool. I kind of figured it's going to pop up a little later too. So
yeah.
All right.
Are you guys all in the same boat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great
Jeez,
stuff.
I'm sorry I ranked it so low.
And I just want to mention, Bailey talked about Camelot. Have any of you seen Camelot?
No.
No.
No, but she said Richard Harris is in it, and I love Dumbledore, so I'm like, ooh, I'm interested.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to my number 9, which is Yojimbo.
Yeah.
Love Akira Kurosawa films. I'm really into action and samurai movies. And I also really like, it's not on this list, but I also like, what was it? Fistful of Dollars, which is very, very much the same as this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just love that whole aesthetic, the old samurai, it's kind of like a Western. Really like that part of it because I'm also really into Westerns, and love Toshiro Mifune. He's amazing in all the roles he does. So different from the one he did in Seven Samurai, but yet I don't think anyone else could have done that role. I think he was incredible. But yeah, that's what I have to say. I just really like that movie. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it.
I think that it's one of the greatest framed film ever made. In the framing in Yojimbo and every Kurosawa is the greatest framed film ever made. But in Yojimbo, there's a sense of the you know, when Scorsese once said that cinema is about what's inside the frame and out,
Mhm.
I feel like, and sorry, what's inside and what's out. That Yojimbo is a great definition of that. It's a great, it's exactly you. It feels like there's so much happening inside and outside of the frame at the same time, even though you can't see it. And so when camera moves, or when it changes perspective, you get this richness within the characters and the set pieces that I feel like is so rare to anything else. And especially in the confrontation with the first two gangs that come in, and you have Mifune as a sort of like referee on the chair up top, and it's a super low angle, and you can see the two gangs coming face to face, and you see him on top, and there's just something so magical about that, and you can truly see his painting background, especially in these shots and in this film especially. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think my favorite scene I actually add in the theme song here. It's when he's walking towards the group and there's like flames behind him.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Love that shot.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on then to Michelle's number 8.
Okay, so number 8 is To Kill a Mockingbird. This one's much, I guess would lower or higher make. I don't know. I guess with it being like more like in this placement of the list, like if I were to like make this list like 5 years ago, this would be like much. It would probably be in like top 3 territory. But I haven't like seen this movie in a very long time, and whatnot. But with all of that being said, this movie kind of like holds like this is probably it's probably the most important movie that I kind of watched to sort of like that sort of connected the dots as to like, oh, this is what cinema could be. Because like beforehand I was like cool, movies are like cool, really appreciate it, but I know that like when it was in my 8th grade class, like, you know, we read the book. I think like everyone has like read the book for class. But I remember when I was watching the movie, I was like, whoa, you can do that with a movie? Oh my gosh, why am I feeling all of these things that I've never felt? You know, it sort of like gave me sort of like, I don't know, this spark that like I had never quite felt about like film beforehand, and it's kind of what sort of opened my view in regards to like my love of cinema, you know. And yeah, I mean it's probably the best like coming of age movie, probably. Yeah. And I'm definitely looking forward to when it's re-released this year for, I think it's 55th anniversary. I think I'm like, it's being re-released this year, I'm pretty sure, and I'm really looking forward to that. Definitely. So
I'm always debating between this and 12 Angry Men as my favorite courtroom drama. I'm always debating between the two. And To Kill a Mockingbird was the first one I've watched. I watched that before 12 Angry Men, and I remember being so awed and emotional, and I agree with everything you said, Michelle. It's I relate to that immensely. After this film, there was something different that I hadn't seen before, that I didn't know was possible, especially in that genre. That is such a specific genre. That's very, very limited genre. I didn't know it could be this emotional. And so, yeah, between that and A Few Good Men and 12 Angry Men, you know, in the courtroom where courtroom dramas go, it's tough to say, but it's number 1 or number 2 in that.
I think
that genre.
I think it's cool though how Michelle talked all about the coming of age, and then you talked all about the courtroom drama. How they're both so good at both of those genres, and I think that's a really good compliment about. A good thing about To Kill a Mockingbird.
Like the first half of the movie is definitely much more of like a coming of age kind of story, and the second half is more focused on the trial. But with like sort of snippets of the stories sort of like intersecting on both sides a little bit. But yeah,
it's funny you say coming of age too, because the I believe it's so Robin Mulligan made this, right? Directed this, and he also, the big film that he's made after that, I think it was after that. It was summer of 1942. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's all in a remote island. It couldn't be more opposite than this film, and it is an actual coming of age story. It is in summer of 42 is an actual coming of age story in the summer, a love story between an older woman and a young man. And it's totally, I mean, it's crazy to think that it's the same director that made this. So yeah, just for the anecdote.
That's great. I won't say too much since it's on my list, but I just love Gregory Peck. He's amazing in this movie.
Yeah. He's amazing. Yeah.
So good.
All right. Looks like we got Hugo's top 10 list here. So we got 2001, 8.5. Last year,
Marion Bad.
Okay.
That's right.
La Notte, Howard Review, Persona, The Apartment, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and Army of Shadows.
Wow.
That's a great list there.
Yeah, very diverse list. I like that.
For sure. I wonder who that guy is.
Good list, Hugo.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to Adrien's number 8.
Oh, love that poster.
Yeah. Right? I mean, have we said enough already?
Yeah.
That poster says enough.
Yeah.
Again, everything that we'll say about this has been said over and over again and overanalyzed over and over again. It's again 2 films. It starts out as a heist film, and then it slowly transitions into this psychotic horror film that truly created the rules for everything after it. Right. So this was made in the 1960s, and as we talked about in the last live, this is a direct response to another filmmaker, French filmmaker of the same genre, called Henry George Clouzot, who had made Diabolique, and Hitchcock didn't get the rights in time, loved the film, was so envious that it upped his game into making, at this point, either his greatest or his second greatest film, whether you're in the camp of Rear Window or Psycho as his greatest, or Vertigo.
Vertigo, yeah.
It's always those 3, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But they're all, I mean, they're all at the same level. And so Psycho is truly it truly breaks the barrier in the horror genre. And that's how Rosemary's Baby can come around. That's how The Exorcist can come around. That's how Repulsion can come around. It's all because of Psycho. It created the rules visually and structurally, and also in terms of twists. No one had ever seen these kind of twists before. It was unheard of, especially in 1960, as we talked about before. The Hays Code was still in action, and actually he got in trouble with, at the beginning, the men and women in the same, when Janet Leigh and her husband, not her husband, are in the same bed. That was not allowed. Mm-hmm. So obviously, but he's Hitchcock, so
And the flushing toilet.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
First movie to show the flushing toilet.
That's right. No one had seen this before. There's a lot of things that no one had seen in this film. The structure alone, no one had seen. So yeah, it created those rules, this language, this visual language. Again, Hitchcock, the master of visual language, the creator of most of the visual language we still use today. Without Psycho, De Palma does not have a career. So it's incredible, and it deserves its spot. It should be even higher.
Adrian, have you seen the Anthony Hopkins movie? If
By
Hitchcock?
by you mean the remake?
It's the one that Anthony Hopkins plays Alfred Hitchcock while they're filming
No,
Psycho. Okay,
no. I've
I
heard
would.
about it. I've never seen
Yeah,
it.
it's not like it's pretty underrated. It's not like the most critically acclaimed biography or anything, but it's
Sure.
all about the filming of Psycho. And so,
Sure.
and Anthony Hopkins, I mean, obviously does amazing. I always mix up Hopkins and Anthony Perkins, but it's Anthony Hopkins playing Hitchcock.
That's
And
right.
it came out back in 2012, so I would just
That's right.
recommend that. It's really
I'll
good.
check it out for sure. Also,
Yeah.
the score
Oh,
is
Bernard Herrmann.
is the score was probably the most specific score we'd hear until this time. We had never, I think, heard that kind of score, that kind of theme that was so specific to horror, to ambiance, to the atmosphere, and to the character itself. No one had really done that, not even Hitchcock himself, even though Bernard Herrmann had scored his previous films, Vertigo and Rear Window,
North by Northwest, right?
And North by Northwest, I believe. Wait, North by Northwest was not.
I can't remember.
No, it was in the 50s.
Yeah, it was in the 50s.
It was in the 50s. Right. So North by
59.
Northwest, Rear Window, Vertigo, and obviously the rest was, I think, all scored by Bernard Herrmann. I believe. I'm not entirely.
I say so, yeah.
Not entirely sure about that.
There's someone in the
Psycho
comments.
was when the score was at its most efficient into telling the story, and into also recognizability. Right, we still to this day will be haunted by that score.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those two notes that inspired John Williams to make the score for Jaws. Right. So it's always that repetition that is so amazing.
Wait, was it like the Psycho score that inspired John Williams for Jaws?
One of the scores that inspired him was absolutely Bernard Herrmann.
Okay. Yeah.
One of he has many.
Right, because I guess because I know that like the theme in Bambi for Man was also an influence on that. So like I wouldn't be like those were probably like both the themes that like took an influence for.
Well, because the thing is the score of the cello, the strings of Psycho, right? They go ding 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 ding, right? And then the two notes of Jaws are just dum 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 dum, right? There's a clear similarity. There's a clear there's a clear bridge between the two.
Side tangent, but
no, for sure. It's incredible. Yep.
All right. You're number 8, Nathan.
Got my Sidney Poitier appearance here on the list. So complete opposite of what Psycho is, but same decade. 1961, so just a year after. But Raisin in the Sun was my favorite Criterion I watched in 2021. I rank my top 10 each year, and it came off as number 1. Sidney Poitier, Bernardo and I were talking about that. He just saw it yesterday. But Sidney Poitier is so good at what he does in anything that he does, but I think he's his best in this movie. And I've seen quite a few of his movies, so that's not just me. I've seen 3 movies of Sidney Poitier's. This is his best. Like I've seen a lot, and this is my favorite performance of his. It's about a family, African American in the 60s, also dealing with poverty, and they also all have their own individual dreams and visions of where they want to be. But it's kind of like at the end of the day, family's most important, and just the different things that happen as the movie progresses. You can't help but just really feel for this family, and you want what's best for them. So when things don't work out, it hits you very hard. And I just think that Sidney Poitier, it's actually kind of cool. This is based on a play, and he was touring in the play. And I want to say him, and I think the lady who plays the mother in the movie, they're from the original cast of the play.
I think it was like a lot of like I think like a lot of like cast members from the cast on Broadway like also performed in the movie, but definitely Sidney Poitier and I really wish I could remember her name, but the one who played the mother, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's the mother and him, and
also his wife.
it's interesting too because they kind of got in fights about if the story's about Sidney Poitier or if it's about the mother, because both of them play kind of crucial parts. And it's just a good movie, so highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's a Criterion as well, so it's on sale right now at Barnes & Noble, and I'm not being sponsored.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, I like had to like read the play in high school, so there might be a part
cool.
of me that like it's hard for me to like get invested in the movie when like I had to like read the play for high school. But I guess I think we can all to an extent maybe relate to that, where it's like, okay, I'm forced to read this thing that you know.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the movie is very, very well made. I definitely recognize that, but it might be a little hard for me to like get into it considering the past that I have with it, you know.
Sure, yeah.
You know, just gosh darn education system.
Yeah, dang it.
Please go to school. Please go to school.
All right.
That's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's actually about both of them colliding. Well, that's interesting.
Well, that's the thing. Like, but they don't want to hear that. They want, one of them want to be the main character. They want to. So, but yeah, I agree. Both of them are very pivotal to the story. But I was reading Sidney Poitier's Measure of a Man, one of his autobiographies last month, and he said that was always it was hard on the tour because they were always kind of in disagreement of who the story was really about. So it's fascinating.
Cool. All right, I'll move on to my number 8. So, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Nice. Never heard of this movie.
Right? Everything that's already been said, I agree with, and I'll just add, I actually really, really liked the book. I also read it in school. It's one of those rare moments where I thought it was a very faithful adaptation, and I actually ended up liking both. Because there's a lot of times where you either like the book or you like the movie, not both. And in this case, I like both. I think they did a really good job with it. I also like Robert Duvall. He has kind of like a cameo in this movie. He's a great actor.
I want to say this was his debut.
It was his
debut. It might have been. Yeah, it might have been.
Whose debut? Pecht?
No, Robert Duvall.
Duvall. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Radley.
Yeah. Very small role.
You can't even recognize him.
But it's like freaking effective. Like,
he's unrecognizable.
Single word. Oh my gosh.
And if anyone also wants to see him in a young role, he's in The Twilight Zone, 1 episode. Just got to throw that out there.
Oh, great.
Get in your Twilight Zone.
I always have to sneak into Twilight Zone.
For sure.
I understand.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I really like this movie. All right, we'll move on to number 7. Movie. All right, number 7 for you, Michelle.
Right. Okay, so this is, I guess, the first that I'm kind of bringing up of movies released in the French New Wave. And yeah, this was sort of one that like I didn't really have like a lot of intention to like watch or something. I think out of all people, like my mom wanted, like she was recommended this movie and I was like, okay, I guess I want to see more French movies. I guess I'll watch this. And I had like and I like completely didn't predict like how like engrossed I would be with it and how it just has this special quality about it. And like it's hard for me to kind of put into words, you know, which might be why I need to watch it again. But I know that like from what I did watch of it, it was like, you see, it's hard to put into words, but it really sort of left this sort of significant impact on me. And it was sort of like, this was kind of the one that like, of the French New Wave where it was like, ooh, let me now see more movies like this because this is really, really cool. Yeah, really, really well made and would recommend to anyone. It's really good.
I think there's a lot to relate to that, to what you just said, because it's in general, and tell me if you disagree, but I feel like the French New Wave in general is a feeling, right? There's most films that don't necessarily remember the plot. You don't necessarily even remember the characters sometimes, but you'll remember the feeling that it brought you, right? That there's something special about that world, and it also is because it deconstructs the rules that came before, right? And so I feel like Jules and Jim, I had a similar feeling to yours, except me a little bit in the negative, in the sense that I liked a lot of it, and then by the end I kind of fell away from it for some reason, and I couldn't really explain why. And it for me it fell short by the end, but the world that it presents was a fascinating look and perspective at life, and especially at relationship between humans. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I feel like, Adrien, you're like, okay, let me explain exactly what Michelle is feeling. Okay.
I feel like I feel the same way.
No, I appreciate it, man. You're really helping to articulate exactly what's going on in here.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm wrong, please feel free to tell me. I also felt similar ways where I couldn't express how I felt about the new wave because it was so different than anything else. This is not
like the third time where it's like I'm explaining this and you're like, okay, yeah, so let me see if I can like clarify, or it's
more just like a shared feeling.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's like Bailey just commented, the French New Wave is so often a lack of plot, in my opinion. Adrien's so right with the feeling. You need the feeling of the films and feeling of the characters depicted in different ways.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I haven't seen this one, but I'll definitely add it to the list.
For sure. And also, if you guys are, Michelle, did you see other Truffauts after that one?
Yes, I saw 400 Blows, which is like, usually that's kind of the first Truffaut film that people see, but like other way around for me.
Same for me.
Let me actually go and see I think I've only seen those two, but
I would highly recommend Shoot the Piano Player.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite Truffaut. And I would also recommend, in French, it's La Nuit Américaine, but in English, it's Day for Night.
Yeah, that one really interests me.
Is that the movie
also
one?
The Last Metro. I'm really
That's right. That's the movie one.
I've seen that one.
Movie. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was a fun time. Yeah, it's like very. So yeah, it's very. It just feels very meta the whole time.
It's very. I was gonna say it's very meta. Exactly. Yeah. I was gonna say that for sure.
All right.
So you assume, Nathan, you haven't seen Jules and Jim? Probably not.
I haven't. No, I've seen 400 Blows and Day and Night, and then I've studied his work in the sense that he interviewed Alfred Hitchcock, and I read the book that he wrote, and it's like my favorite book ever. So I'll give books. So
what an incredible book that he's done.
It's amazing.
Truffaut always said that if every directors were to go away, one would remain, and that would be Hitchcock. Because I just got
chills. Not even joking.
the Americans did not take Hitchcock really seriously at that time. He was a blockbuster director. He was an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
He was not really an auteur or an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And the French were the first to find the true value in the true purpose in Hitchcock, and so brought that to the world with that book, which was read and then rethought in America and the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hitchcock obviously got his place as one of the greatest first auteurs of cinema.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, we'll move on to Adrien's number 7.
Nice.
I mean, the ultimate American movie musical in the classic era, right? Like it's everything about this screams classic and screams immortality. Every song, every shot, every choreography, it's sublime. And I would even go as to say that there are no real words that can be said to explain why this film is great. It just is, right? It's that magical feeling that you get through the music and through the cinematography and through the mise en scène. Again, Robert Wise, same director as West Side Story, right? Same director as The Haunting, which is a horror film, that he made like 3 years after Sound of Music, completely different than what he's used to making, but also just as inventive and just as creative. The Hunting, and also I believe he's also made The Last Man on the Day the Earth Stood Still, which was also a sci-fi, one of the first true serious sci-fi films with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and also, I mean, this guy is so versatile, right? Bob Wise could make a musical and nail it twice with this and West Side Story. Could make a horror film and create shots that were not seen at that time, and do the same for sci-fi. He's a truly remarkable man, even though I know that we will never forgive him for what he's done for Magnificent Ambersons.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, it was the studio's fault. Come on. His hands were tied. But yeah.
I didn't realize that. I mean, man, I should have known this, but I didn't realize it's the same director as West Side Story. That's really cool. And
Isn't
then
that?
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned The Day the Earth Stood Still, because I know joke, my friend just lent me a copy of her movie because she calls it the greatest sci-fi ever made, just because of like the landmark it is and everything. And I've never seen it, so I'm actually going to be watching that original Day the Earth Stood Still very soon. So it got me a little more excited.
It's like straighter than Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? It's more down to earth. Pun not intended.
Yeah.
But it has, but it's very poignant. It's very poignant in its message, and I could totally see Spielberg watching that and then taking a lot from it to make Close Encounters. I don't know if that's true, but I could totally, see him doing that.
Yeah,
so yeah,
nice.
All right. Well, I won't say too much about this one. It's also on my list, but I love the music so much. I actually bought 2 records for it, one from the movie and one from the Broadway.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Great thrift store finds.
Similar. It's also on my list, but I guess, I don't know, a little bit of a side story. I know that like as a kid, like I loved this movie, like I loved it. And I know, like, my aunt, she goes on about, like, there was, like, this time when, like, I was watching the movie and, like, she brought her guitar because she knew, like, how to play the songs or something. And, like, she was trying to, like, I don't know, like, I, like, knew, like, the soundtrack, like, word for word or something for, like, the opening song and then Do Re Mi. And so, like, but then when my aunt tried to join in, I was like, no, it's my song. And then she goes on and on about that. So it was also kind of like my first, I guess, musical obsession in a way, but we'll get more onto that when I talk about it later. But
yeah. Do Re Mi is an earworm. That is like one of the catchiest songs ever.
One of the greatest songs ever.
Yeah, that too.
The whole album. I want to do like Harrison. Harrison, send me the links of your records.
Yeah, I need to buy those too.
Yeah.
Thrift store, man.
Oh, there you go. Oh,
All
looks
right.
like Laughing Place in the comments also loves Sound of Music.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Then
You got
Bailey. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Another reason I'm excited to watch it. Awesome.
And I agree with Bailey as well in the genre.
Cool.
Sweet. All right. Nathan.
So my number 7 is a Sidney Lumet film. One of my favorite movie directors. I have it on my read list. He has a book called Making Movies, and it's just about his experience making movies. Exactly what it sounds like. But I need to read that because I trust the man. He, like, 12 Angry Men was my favorite of the 50s, and he had to make the list. Feel Safe is a movie that I've only seen it once, and I try to include movies I've seen a few times, but this one had to make the list because it still stays with me. It is such a powerful movie. Basically, in a nutshell, have any of you seen this one?
No.
Not yet. No.
Nice. Okay. No, that's totally fine. So basically, I'm just going to read the description. Because of a technical defect, an American bomber team mistakenly orders the destruction of Moscow. the president of the United States has but little time to prevent an atomic catastrophe from occurring. And so you can imagine with Sidney Lumet how good he is with, just think of 12 Angry Men with the camera angles, with the sweating, with the heat in the room. Now put that in a situation where you've accidentally sent a bomb to Moscow and it could lead to all-out world war, basically. And so it's a very intense, suspenseful movie. Henry Fonda plays the president of the United States. There's also a young Walter Matthau, and there are other notable actors in the movie as well. But just by the end of it, I don't want to say too much, so I should just say through the process of watching it, it was just a very engaging movie, and one that is required of me to watch again soon because I loved it that much.
That's great. You know, when you describe the plot, that sounds a lot like Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, but it's not like Doctor Strangelove. Like Doctor Strangelove definitely is the satire comedy, and this one is not a comedy. But two great movies, though. Doesn't mean that like one's better than the other. I mean, I like this one more, but that's just me. But it doesn't mean that like one should be viewed instead of the other. Like both should be viewed. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
All right. We'll move on to my number 7, Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh,
I
amazing
love
movie.
this movie. Got Henry Fonda, and I love the opening scene where Charles Bronson gets into a shootout with some cowboys. That was
Harmonica.
amazing. Yes, playing the harmonica the whole time. Oh, so awesome.
And this is actually an homage to the High Noon.
Yes.
Remember?
And I think we talked about that, didn't we? Because High Noon was on our list in the 50s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
High Noon begins the same way.
Yeah. And you can, when you've seen both of them, you can tell this one especially takes its time in the beginning. And I like that too.
Mm-hmm.
With the sweat, the drop of sweat.
And the fly, doesn't a fly like land on him?
The fly,
and
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You can feel the sweat. You can feel the heat.
And the tension too.
Oh, absolutely. And Henry Fonda in this movie, like I just talked about him being the president of the United States and failsafe. In this movie, he's far from that. He is he's always playing the hero, but in this one, he successfully plays the villain, and he's good at it too.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, Harrison, I don't want to take
No,
it away.
no, you're good.
I just this movie's good.
It is so good. And I think it was the first Charles Bronson movie I ever saw, and now I'm a huge fan of his. Just watching Great Escape, he's amazing in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just love the action and the craziness, like the beginning. Love the beginning so much. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a great movie.
There's one thing I take issue a little bit with this film is that, and I'm probably the only one in the world, because I remember seeing it. Well, there's a lot that I love about it for sure. Don't get me wrong. There's incredible scenes, but the fact that we don't know the purpose of harmonica, right? And we're kept in mystery throughout the entire film. At some point, I start to stop caring because I don't know what he's fighting for and why he's there in the first place. And I understand that's the purpose and the goal.
Sure.
But when we do get to the end and we do get to the big reveal, I kind of went, okay.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh, all right. Well, okay. So it was the brother and okay. So that's sad. But I didn't get... Right. Oh, sorry. Did anyone not see it?
I've not seen it. I'm the only one.
Sorry. I should always ask. But no.
He's not brothers with Henry Fonda. If that was what you were wondering, he's not brothers with Henry Fonda.
I barely like.
He barely touched the surface.
Barely.
That's not really yeah.
The point is that I feel like I felt a lack of emotional connection to this film. And I feel like that's where I take a little bit of an issue with it, as opposed to Once Upon a Time in America, which I think is a absolute stone cold masterpiece, out of this world, immortal film that will never die. So, but I hate feeling that way towards it, because there's I really want to love it so much, but yeah, I felt lack of emotion.
I think, yeah. So I like hearing that. For me personally, I think what kept me engaged in the movie was I was constantly intrigued and wondering what his motives were,
Right.
and I could see that being an issue because it's a long movie too, and so I
Right.
could see
3
especially
hours.
losing the interest. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So, but for me, it was the opposite where that's what kind of kept me engaged. Where I was like, what? Like, why does he want to? Like, why does he want to get to this person so badly? And for me, the reveal in the end was satisfying personally,
Mhm.
but I think I just like everything coming full circle with harmonica as a character, with the tune, with everything. And Harrison, sorry, I'm spending so much time on this right now. I'll go ahead and spoil it. This is my number 6. So when we get to
Yeah.
the 6, we can just skip over to the next person. But I'll just quickly say one more thing. I love the icon the ongoing harmonica tune that you hear throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, this is amazing. Of course,
It's so good. It's so good
course.
that it was even recycled and used in the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So when I watched this movie for the first time,
that's right.
yeah, when I watched the movie for the
That's
first time,
right.
I was like, "That's the Pirates score," and I was like, "But wait, it's not the Pirates score." Whoa! And then also there's just a very the last thing I'll say is Henry Fonda's introduction to this movie is spine tingling. It is horrifying and just a very well made movie. So when we get to my number 6, we can just move on because I've said everything.
And also, don't get me wrong. The opening when Claudia Cardinal arrives at the station,
Yeah.
we have the overhead shot. Pure cinema, of course. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
I'm crying at that point. And the
Already,
movie hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not crying. I'm crying because of the beauty of cinema, of
Oh,
how
yeah,
beautiful that
absolutely.
cinema is.
Poetic there.
More so than the story itself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the thing, but whatever. Yeah.
No,
for
that's
sure.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good talk. Good talk.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to Michelle's number 6.
Okay, I'm really looking forward to talking about this one because I don't think any of you have this one on your list. Whatever. But
West Side Story. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I rewatched this movie recently, and I remember this is sort of another one, like similarly to like To Kill a Mockingbird, where like it sort of like was sort of able to like open these doors for me. This is more of sort of the case of like theater and whatnot. Yes, Bernardo. Bernardo and I are like stans for this movie. But this is probably like in terms of like straightforward like adaptations of Romeo and Juliet, this is like my favorite film adaptation of it. If you'd like take away like I guess like reimaginings or whatnot similar to like something like West Side Story or I don't know, whatever. This is probably like my favorite straightforward adaptation of the play. And it's just excuse me, I'm sorry. It's a movie that like has this really great atmosphere to it, and it has like this deep understanding of the text that Shakespeare wrote. The world feels incredibly lived in, and there's like when I rewatched it recently, I caught like all of these nuances. Like, ooh, I didn't notice that part. Like even though like I had watched it like many times when I like years ago. And I think I was like, I had to watch this like, in high school when like we were reading the play. And I think I was probably the only person in the class who like loved the movie and I was ostracized for it. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's just it's like I wish that it like was granted more attention and praise for the feats that it does achieve. And I get that it's not like this like, oh my gosh, absolutely groundbreaking, like going through the ceiling or whatnot, but I mean, not every movie needs to be that, right? I mean, sometimes like And for me, it like serves what I would want to see in like an adaptation of like, well, the point is no, rather sort of with the way that it told this story, it was able to like pique my interest in something that is a really hard thing to get interested in, being Shakespeare, because it's kind of like, you know, Shakespeare is really hard to understand, frankly, to the general, I guess, person. I don't know, but myself included.
Yeah, it's a little outdated. Let's just say it that way.
Right. So, yeah, I love it. So
I agree with everything you said, and I think as well it's the most accurate. You said depiction. You said, what did you say? You said it was the most accurate depiction of like a theater play, theater to film, right?
Right. At least it's definitely like my favorite, I guess, straightforward
Yeah,
adaptation.
same here. I think that it's especially for Romeo and Juliet, it's the most accurate film depiction, I think, of the theater play. And
at least in regards to like keeping the original text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the beauty of the actors is something to be reckoned with. The charisma that they both have and the chemistry that they have on that screen is beyond. So, yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah. And it was also like the first sort of movie adaptation of this, where like they actually got performers that matched the ages of the characters, you know, or at least similarly, you know. And so it was known for like kind of like accurately portraying the sort of I'm trying to think of the word.
The language?
Well, I guess youth. I guess.
Oh yeah.
Better word. But I guess the also spontaneity of the story as well. You know, that hadn't really been prevalent in like previous adaptations, because I think the last prevalent one before this one was like an adaptation from 1939, where it had these grown ass adults in their 30s playing these characters. And
I believe there was even a silent film version of it.
Yeah.
which that is even more fascinating. Shakespeare, but silent.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I love this movie. So yeah.
Yep.
I remember watching it in high school because, like you, we had to watch it after reading it. And it's kind of a funny thing. When I first saw it, I saw the actor Tybalt, Michael York. I recognized him from Austin Powers.
Yeah.
For his scenes in Austin Powers.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's so like, yeah, whenever like I see Michael York in a movie, it's like, I don't know. I agree. It's so funny that like he was in Austin Powers, but like, so like now whenever like I watch the movie, I can only hear his character from Austin Powers. Like he's reciting these like Shakespearean soliloquies, and then
Anyways, that's what I thought of. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like similar to like Joaquin Phoenix. Like he's like in Joker, but he was also the voice of like, he was also in Brother Bear. So now whenever I watch Brother Bear, I can only imagine him saying these lines from Joker, and it's so funny.
Yes.
Completely side note. But
yes. We'll move on to Adrien's number 6.
So, I mean, Nathan.
Maria.
So I mean, Nathan, you've already said a lot to it. I mean, it's actually maybe with Sound of Music. Well, 7 and 6, right? So my favorite movie musical ever made. It's quite perfection, and I'm going to disagree with you on the Spielberg take.
Because I saw it coming.
because I think that's a right now for me, as at least, it's a more interesting approach because it just came out, right?
Sure.
And I saw West Side Story, the Spielberg version, a third Friday night or Saturday night, and then that same night I watched the original, right? So I back to backed it I double featured it. It's 2 hours and a half and then 2 hours and a half. So it's a 5-hour. It's a 5-hour double feature, one after the other.
Wow.
And while I was watching Spielberg's version, I liked it a lot. I was into it. I thought there's some sort of the Spielberg magic that's in there, and and I was some set pieces that were cool and some mise en scène that was inventive, and of course the score just pulls you in and never lets you go.
Mm-hmm.
But then you watch the original right after, and the difference in mise en scène, in colors, in framing, in blocking, in ideas, just ideas, imagination, right? When Maria and Tony meet for the first time in the original, and the world blurs itself out, right? And they get into this darkness, this place of gray, in this gray area with everybody dancing, and they're the only ones in the world, right? And you truly feel for them at that moment. You truly believe in that love at first sight because they're alone in the world. In Spielberg's version, they go behind the bleachers. and
bleachers are where it's at, man.
And,
come on.
Right. And they get closer and they say a few things. You're not supposed to be there, huh? Neither are you.
Let's kiss.
And then he goes for the kiss, and I guess I just thought it was very straight. It was very straightforward without the ingenuity that Bob Wise had 40 years earlier. I also thought that the placing of the scenes were very awkward, especially with in the emotional weight of it. I can think of the most important song, which is, once Tony is killed. Has everybody seen it?
Yes.
I've seen it.
Yeah, but
When
viewers
Tony-
might not have seen it though.
Right. When Tony is killed, Bernardo, right, and he comes back, and there's the love song, right, between the two, right. There's a place for us, and the fact that the "There's a Place for Us" song was sung by the old lady, the old woman in the Spielberg version, who is Anita Moreno, right, from the old film, and he wanted to do a sort of ode, but I feel like it takes away from the emotional weight that we had from the original, because "There's a Place for Us," which literally means, we are in danger right now. There is no one else but us. We are the only ones that matter. So it should be the lovers that should sing that song. And with taking that away from the lovers and putting it in, to be honest, an extra character. Sure, she's she's Anita Moreno, and she's the old one from the old film, but it takes away from the core of what makes West Side Story West Side Story. We have to believe in that story of gangsters that dances in New York, right? We have to believe in that. And I felt underwhelmed by Spielberg's version, even though I thought it was a beautiful effort overall.
Sure.
And I thought that there were some really nice shots, some really nice cinematography. And also what I really liked about Spielberg's version is representation. I love the way the Puerto Ricans are represented in that movie, which were completely underrepresented in the 60s in the original one.
Yeah, that's like one aspect of the movie where I'm like, that's
I agree. The goals of the Puerto Rican, of the sharks in the goals and purposes of the sharks in the Spielberg version, top notch. I love the fact that there was no subtitles when they spoke Spanish.
Oh yeah,
it actually made it a plot point, right? That we feel out of place, right? We should feel out of place. We should not understand them, and so we are living with the Jets, right? We were seeing it from the perspective of the Jets, which makes it great, right? It makes it real. So there were great ideas, and I thought that Tony Kushner did a pretty good script overall. But again, the magic and the core understanding of why West Side Story works, I feel like was blown out of the park in the original, and that unfortunately failed in the Spielberg version. So that's my take on that. Without elaborating too much.
I know that this is I actually have a bit just a side note in regards to the song "Somewhere." Spielberg is I absolutely agree with that I think that the Somewhere number was done better in the 60s version than in the Spielberg version, because like it makes more sense that the lovers are the ones.
Oh, you mean There's a Place for Us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
There's a place
it's
for
called
us
Yeah.
somewhere.
But it is called
a place.
Somewhere.
It's called Somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I
no,
thought it was called
no.
There's a Place for Us. My
Like,
bad.
dude, no worries. But yeah, Spielberg mentioned how like, you know, this was more of like an adaptation of the stage play rather than the movie from 61.
Sure.
And actually in the original staging of the number Somewhere, there, well, originally Tony and Maria, they meet up. Well, right, Tony meets up in Maria's room, and then Tony's saying, I'll take you somewhere. And then it has them like running off, and then it's like in sort of this dream sequence, sort of, where the two are like in the middle of the stage, and there's this full-on dance number where like the Jets and the Sharks or whatnot. It's this metaphor for like the two finding this place, like a place for us, you know? And then it has them doing this like, you know, specific choreography, and then there's a random person in the corner that's singing the song over them. So in a way, the movie kind of like fully contradicted what the original staging was. You know, so in a way, the Spielberg version is kind of like more
the accurate one.
Staging.
That's funny because
interesting. Yeah,
that's interesting because I will talk to my father about this because his number one musical is West Side Story. He saw it in the 60s or in the 50s when it came out, and it's like what made him want to get into music and all that. But I should because he also acknowledged that he didn't like that it was the random old lady that sang "There's a Place for Us" in place of the lovers, because the lovers, the fact that they are singing this brings us to, oh, you're right, there is a place for you out there. It's not here, it's not where it's at, it's not in New York, but out there somewhere there's a place for you. And you meaning that love story. And it's interesting that you say that about the original stage. I wonder which, because there were many versions, of course, that were made, especially when it came to Europe. It was then changed, it was then re-edited, it was then rewritten, you know, for European versions, and then Asian versions were then re-edited as well, as they do with musicals. But I'm actually it's interesting that the one of the original plays was a random person coming in, and and that. So, but yeah, for sure, interesting stuff. And Natalie Wood forever. I mean, you know, Natalie Wood forever. And I'm sorry, Ziegler, but no,
Natalie Wood's great.
Yeah.
And for the record, I like both of them. Yeah, I want to throw out there that I don't know which one I like more. I like both of them a lot, though.
Right, yeah. I was iffy on Ziegler.
That's fair.
But sure.
All right.
Probably make this a lot more snappy now. Because,
right, for sure. Like,
yeah.
So we already did.
Hey, look at that. That's my number 6.
Nathan, what did you think of that movie?
Well, let me tell you. No.
So we'll go on to my number 6. It's a James Bond movie called On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And the notable thing about this is George Lazenby, who plays Bond, this is the only time he ever played him. And to me, it's incredible. I think he's a fantastic James Bond. I also love the Bond girl played by Diana Rigg. She's amazing in this. Mm-hmm. And Telly Savalas, he plays, I think, the best version of Blofeld, even better than Donald Pleasance. He's really awesome in this. And has anyone else seen this movie before I get into it?
Yes.
Adrien.
I have all the Bond movies on my watch list, but I've seen very few.
It's probably my third favorite James Bond of all time.
Yeah,
awesome. That's awesome.
It's incredible. Well, I won't get too much into it, but yeah, you'll really like it. It's a lot more accessible than some of the other ones. Some of them are a little hokey with the action, but this one is actually really believable, really cool, and he's really charming too. A lot more so than I think Sean Connery. Sean Connery's just kind of brutish, but yeah, love this movie.
Cool.
Nice. On the watch list for sure.
All right, we'll move on to number 5 for Michelle.
Right.
Ah,
My
look at
number
that.
5, Rosemary's Baby. Love this movie. I saw this. It was actually on Halloween that I watched this, and I like listened to the audiobook in like 2 weeks. Loved it. And I was like, okay, I need to watch the movie. And it was Halloween, so it was like perfect timing. And yeah, I absolutely love this movie. This was, well, this is my first and so far only Roman Polanski movie. And, you know, say what you will about him, but he does know how to make really, really, really good movies, you know? And yeah, the atmosphere in this and the suspense in it and the way that it's like you said, Adrian, it's not like a conventional horror movie where like it's not like in your face with what it's trying with the way that it's scaring you, but it's more of like the ways that it alludes to like what's going to happen. And like in my personal opinion, I think that the ending of the movie was done much better. Well, I don't know. It was executed more effectively for me personally than it was in the book, even though the book and the movie are very similar.
100% agree.
Yeah, to me at least, the movie felt like it like was being the format that it was. It sort of was able to take its time more. I'm really trying to not spoil anything.
Yeah, that's the hard part. That's why I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah. But I'm not. Yeah, but I think I'm doing really well at that. So
You're doing really well. Yeah.
Love this movie, and the book is also really, really good. So I would recommend.
And also, you also never know if the events that are happening are really happening because we're all in her head. We're all, I mean, we're from her perspective. So it's there's always that questioning: is it happening? Is it not?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but love this movie. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
So who has seen this?
I have not.
Nathan, yes.
I just barely saw it in my 24-hour movie marathon. I love
it.
Yeah,
I was wondering if anyone would have seen it. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I've seen it.
Take it away, Nathan.
I was
this is the greatest road movie ever made.
Trip.
Well, for me, and the greatest buddy comedy ever made. It's a mix of both. It's buddy comedy and it's road. It's Italian cinema from 1963, I believe.
62, according to the cover.
Oh, 62. Gotcha. 1962. Oh yeah.
That's what the criteria. That's what the criteria
says.
Correct.
1962. So 1962. So we are in Italy. A new genre arises, and it is called comedy. Italian comedies were becoming prevalent in the 1960s, and in Italian it's called commedia all'italiano, and it's a whole genre that was made. Started in 1958 and then all the way through the 60s and in the early 70s. And Il Sorpasso, I think, is the greatest out of all of them. It's one of the funniest film ever made. It's genius acting by Vittorio Gassman, who's the main character of the film, who's an Italian genius. He's the Italian Brando, if you will. And then his co-star, Jean-Louis Trintignant, a French actor, who also is a genius performer. And without this film, there is no Easy Rider, a film that you all might be more familiar with. But in 1969, also one of the films that transitioned old Hollywood to New Hollywood, that highly influenced by the New Wave, was almost got the idea to make Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper got the idea to make Easy Rider from watching Il Sorpasso. So it's underrated, incredibly underrated. It's one of the all-time Italian masterpieces. I recommend to everyone. It's fun. It's incredibly moving. It has so much heart, and it also pinpoints a specific era in Italian society between the South and the North. And so it's also really, really interesting if any of you are interested in Italian history in the 60s, in the boom of the 60s, the financial boom of the 60s, the music of the 60s in that era in Italy. It's unbelievable. You just want to be there with them. And yeah, I recommend it to everyone.
Yeah, I'll just add that I love hearing the thoughts of the Jean Louis. Yeah, him. Yeah. And then I also love the ending, which I won't say anything, but I just love the ending. So
and Trintignant, R.I.P. He just died.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Yeah. The Bailey just said it at the same time I said it.
Yeah.
All right, Nathan, you're number 5.
All right, so I am look at that. Oh, I love seeing that reaction. I'm a big James Stewart fan. And this was a movie that, the first time I saw it, I enjoyed it, but it was also one of those movies that I completely forgot about it when I was going into it for a rewatch because it had been several years, so I only remembered a few key scenes. I remembered the ending. I remembered the kind of the twist, if you will. But I just love the movie. It starts off with James Stewart. He's an older man. He's visiting a town that he once lived in. He sees some friends. We don't know any of these people yet. They're all older people. And then it's one of those movies where, let me tell you the story. And it goes back X amount of years and they're all younger again. And I like it when movies do that, when we start in the future and go to the past. For whatever reason, the thing that's coming to my mind right now is the Phantom of the Opera movie from 2004. Because I remember they do it in that movie. I know there's other better examples, but that's the one that's coming to my mind right now. But yeah, I love that it starts that way. But then
It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yeah, I guess that starts in the future. Yeah, literally my favorite movie of all time. That's a little different, though, but still. I guess that is kind of, yeah. Anyways, yeah, so I love this movie for a few reasons, but I think the main reason is James Stewart's character, that he's willing to stand up to the big bad guy no matter how bad he is. I also like the town and how they're all in agreement that they hate this Liberty Valance person. And it's just a movie that you have to watch and just let it happen. Like, I don't know too much more to say, but it's just a very enjoyable movie. One of my favorite Westerns of all time now that I've rewatched it and appreciate it more, and just a big fan of like the direction it goes in.
And also the last great John Ford Western. The last of his, of his era, really.
Of his streak. Yeah,
his streak. I mean, 1962, right?
Yeah, I think so. Let me make sure. Yep, 62.
It's also the end of an era in America, right? It's the transition between the old West and the new, right?
Oh, totally.
And it talks about law and lawyers and gunslingers and one. It's incredible.
Yeah,
for sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to my number 5. Okay. Goldfinger, another James Bond movie.
Best James Bond movie of all time.
Ooh,
I wouldn't disagree. I agree with that sentiment. It's a fantastic movie. Love the villain because he absolutely doesn't care at all. Like, Bond's strapped up. He's like, "You expect me to talk?" He's like, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." Like, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
I love his plan. I believe it's the only Bond film that has scenes in America, like take place in America. I could be wrong, but that was pretty cool. They went to, Fort Knox. That was pretty interesting how they had to blow through that. But anyways, love this movie. Even though I was kind of knocking on Sean Connery earlier, I think this is definitely his best one. I've seen all of them, and they get really dumb after this one. Especially Diamonds Are Forever. That one's just awful, but I digress. Love this movie. Love the villain. And that's pretty much it.
Yep. I mean, I second that.
I haven't seen the movie, but I love the song by
it's a good song.
Shirley Bassey.
Goldfinger.
Yeah.
It's a great song.
Sounds like Moon River.
Yeah.
It does.
It is.
It's like a hard rock version of Moon River.
Yeah, I've actually never heard the song, but just what you just did, it sounded like Moon River. You just
Yeah,
replaced it with
it
Goldfinger.
really is. I
That's
never even realized.
funny.
That.
That's funny.
That's funny. All right, we'll move on to our number 4s.
Oh, nice. Bailey agrees with me.
All right. So number 4, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I have a friend who's French, and she has been, okay, Michelle, this is how you say it. It's The Umbrellas. Don't say the G, okay? So,
Cherbourg.
yeah, exactly. So she's like been like, okay, if you're gonna talk about it, don't, So
Michelle, did you know Adrien speaks French?
I caught on to that. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. It's a movie that I saw when I was getting into the French New Wave, although I acknowledge that this isn't the standard French New Wave movie, because it's more of Jacques Demy. He had this love for sort of the movies, I guess, that were released these French epic movies that were released in the 50s that had these grandiose scales, whereas people like Jean-Luc Godard and Francois Truffaut wanted to sort of drift away from that with their films like 400 Blows, Jules and Jim, Breathless, etc. Whereas this movie kind of it has this collage of those French, I guess, these story elements of movies from the typical French New Wave, but also implementing implementing the aspects from the grandiose. I'm sorry, I need to take this call. Can you hold on for a sec?
Sure.
Oh my god.
I also love Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Have any of you seen it?
No.
It's been on the watch list for years, and I love La La Land, and I know it's a huge inspiration, so I need to see it, but I just haven't.
So Jacques Demy was incredibly good.
Right. So film, right. I did a whole essay on this about the way that Jacques Demy sort of was able to combine those sort of aspects from the French New Wave, from people like Jean-Luc Godard, and also these grand films with these extravagant production designs from the 50s in French cinema. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Holy crap. And I saw it in theaters recently as a special Valentine's Day screening in San Francisco. And it was so amazing to watch in theaters. It was, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And honestly, if anyone is to watch Jacques Demy's films, I would highly encourage you to watch them in order of release date as part of the Criterion boxed set list, because there's actually somewhat of a narrative. It's more of reoccurring characters that are brought up. I don't want to give away too much, because I know that I watched Lola and Bay of Angels, and I know that one of the characters from one of those movies is brought up in this movie as a former lover, and my mind was completely blown, and I was like, holy crap, oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is I don't know, it was kind of I don't know, an artistic MCU in French, but yeah, it's a gorgeous movie. Awesome. And it also introduced me to Catherine Deneuve, and yeah, it's so good, and the main theme as well is so tragic, but it's also beautiful. One of my favorite love themes, probably. It's probably one of my favorite love themes in film, definitely.
Have you seen the Demoiselle of Rochefort?
Yes, I have.
Right. What do you think? Which do you prefer?
Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Yeah. One's completely sung through, and the other one has speaking moments.
And George Chakiris and Gene Kelly.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, which totally did not expect. Oh my gosh.
Also, I think it's important to note that musicals were not a thing in France, as it was a thing in America in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, as we've talked about, right? France had musicals with René Clair in the 30s, but they were very niche and underground and not very much valued. And actually, musicals in general, even like the equivalent of Broadway, didn't come to France until the 70s, right? So it's important to note that when the Umbrellas of Cherbourg came to Cannes, it was a revelation. It was incredible, and my father saw it at the premiere in Cannes and
That's so cool.
was floored. It was something that made no sense. The whole entire film is sung through. There is no speaking moments. Everyone sings everything. Pass Me the Salt and I Love You are both sung. So it's timeless for sure.
So good.
All right. We'll move on to Adrien's number 4.
The greatest epic of all time, maybe perhaps. I mean, everybody has seen it, right?
I have not actually.
Not yet. Nathan?
Oh.
I think he's frozen.
He's gone. Oh my gosh.
Lawrence of Arabia has stunned him. He's so stunned by the film, by the poster, that he's, Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. It totally obliterated
It was so good. The movie is so good that it obliterated his internet. What do you want to do about it? There's nothing else to talk about.
He said to keep going. He's trying to troubleshoot.
Okay, he's troubleshooting. Yeah, I mean, the every single shot of this film will make you want to cry. It's pure classic cinema. It's a cathartic experience, truly, to watch this film. It's a 4-hour film, and it's too short. It feels like a short film. It is one of the most immersive films I've ever seen, and it's one of the greatest character studies ever made as well. On top of that, and the ingenuity of location and how they shot certain shots with the lighting and the sunsets and the match cuts. It's a true testament to the craft of cinema. Overall, no CGI, no computers, right? No visual effects, all in camera magic, just pure cinema magic. So yeah, without there's a lot. There'd be a lot to talk about, but without going too far in, because we don't have much time, I would say that it's one of the greatest experiences in the movie going I've ever had.
Awesome. Well, I'll save mine because it's on my list as well. So we'll move on to Nathan, and he did say we already talked about this.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to mine. So mine's Planet of the Apes, the original one from the 60s. I love this movie. Love Charlton Heston, and I don't know. I just love the makeup work on the actual ape costumes. I thought that was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Still looks great today.
Yeah, it looks fantastic today. And I won't get into the ending, but the ending is just fantastic. And I love the almost horror feel to it. Kind of more like a Twilight Zone, actually. Not quite horror, but yeah, it felt like crazy because Charlton Heston's like, where am I? It's insane.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that this movie was rated G.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I saw it when I was a kid. Like the last time I saw
Nathan, hey.
Hello, hi.
Good of you to join us.
Yeah, hey.
Nope.
No.
Not for long.
So
The
let's hope it
greatness of
stays.
Planet of... Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I love this movie. Have you seen this one, Nathan?
Have I seen Planet of the Apes? Yes, I've seen. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. I'm a huge fan of the reboot trilogy, Rise, Dawn, and War.
Right.
So yeah, I've actually, now I think I've seen all of them. I don't know why I'm like making it sound like I've only seen the reboot, but I have this like box set. It's like all of them, and yeah.
Even the burn.
The first one's the best one though. What?
Even the burn one?
No, I don't own that one. No, yeah, box set does not include that one.
Oh, the 2000s one. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
no. That is not a good one.
Yeah,
Not good.
No, thank you.
But yeah, I love that one. Let's move on to our number 3s.
Okay, The Graduate. I honestly think this movie is like one viewing away from being a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, I love this movie so much. Like this, there's sort of this series of movies that my dad has shown me, which are like some of his favorites. And out of all of them that he's shown me, this one is definitely the one that has stuck with me the most. I've seen it twice now, and like, oh my gosh, like I just love it even more. Like every passing day, I love it more. And yeah, it's a movie that like has a new meaning every time you watch it, and it has like this new impact on you, you know, or like it impacts you in a way that didn't quite impact you like the last time that you watched it. And yeah, I love this movie so much, and I am excited for the next viewing that I have of it because yeah, I already love it so much. Yeah, and probably one of my favorite soundtracks to a movie ever. Yeah.
I agree with everything you said.
Yeah. Also, third 1967 movie on the list.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Nathan, you with us?
I'm
no,
contacting
the
with him
greatness
right
of The
now.
Graduate has frozen Nathan again.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's those three films.
When we're in the top 5, like
That's
Nathan
right.
is just
He
can't handle it.
No, but my next one, Nathan has seen it. Okay.
Okay, he's gonna try a hotspot.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to yours, Adrien.
Well, this is Nathan. Okay, I'll start talking about it. Have you guys seen this?
No.
Right. So I think Nathan has seen it. So I'd love to hear his thoughts on it when he comes back. But it's one of the late neo-realist Italian films of the 60s, made by Visconti in 1960, or 1960, correct. Also considered one of the greatest years in cinema. Nathan, look what we're talking about. You've seen this one, no?
My connection's really bad. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I'm gonna try to join from my phone.
Right. We can hear you.
It's very choppy. I can barely hear you, so I'm gonna leave and try from my phone. Sorry about this.
Okay.
That's all good. No worries.
So Rocco and his brothers, another one of these cathartic experiences. It's a 3-hour film. It's such a human drama in every single sense of the word. It's pure tragedy, but in the most human way. It's something that I've never seen before. I probably will never see again. It's a film that lives in you forever. So again, with Lawrence of Arabia, with Seven Samurai, like last time, and Rocco and his brothers are 3 of my most personal cathartic experiences I've had when watching a film. At the halfway mark, tears start to slowly flow up until you can't contain them anymore, and it just flows out like a river, like the river that this film is. It truly flows like a river, character per character. It also speaks of the Italian situation in northern Italy at that time, in the boom society. Nathan?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember this film?
I haven't seen this one.
I thought you had. Okay, my bad.
It looks interesting.
I was saying it's one of my 3 cathartic experiences in cinema, in the movie going. Seven Samurai, Lawrence of Arabia, and Rocco and his brothers. That it's a human drama in every sense of the word. It's incredibly emotional. It's incredibly thoughtful. It's incredibly provocative. And it's a film that lives in you and will never go away, will never leave you. It's a film that you think about every so often. And it's one of those emotional experiences that is so rare in cinema. And it's by Visconti. It's made in 1960, the greatest year in cinema, in world cinema, or considered the greatest year in world cinema. Also the same year as Breathless and the same year as La Ventura by Antonioni. And it's Alain Delon, right? Who I believe you all are familiar with, kind of. Alain Delon?
No.
No, he's the very good-looking, extremely good-looking French actor of the 60s, like a god of how good-looking he is. It's incredible. And it was one of his first films. It was Rocco and His Brothers and Purple Noon. And he made this in the same year and then became a huge international star, especially in France, of course. So yeah, Delon, Salvatore Reggiani, an incredible cast, a human drama through and through. And it is not just recommended, it is essential viewing for any cinephile out there.
Wow.
A comment from Bailey about it. Such mixed feelings about this.
Interesting that you feel quite conflicting as a viewer. Interesting. Yeah, I see where she's coming from. Interesting. For sure.
All right. We'll move on to Nathan's number 3.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, it went glitchy again for me, so bear with me. We've already talked about Sound of Music, but I'll just throw in that I love Do Re Mi. I love the whole story. Not only is it one of my favorites of the 60s, but it's one of my favorite Best Picture winners ever. Julie Andrews is incredible in it. And just, I mean, I talked about Do Re Mi, but I also love the Edelweiss and my favorite things, Climb Every Mountain, just like an amazing soundtrack, and really like the time it takes place, the setting of the whole movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Sweeping wide shots.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right. So my number 3 is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I like science fiction as well. I've said that probably 10 times with every genre today, but I really do like science fiction. This is one of the few Kubrick films I've seen, and this is my favorite one so far. And I love Hal, and I'm pretty sure that's your logo, right, Adrien?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. So I love the atmosphere that you get in this movie. And I also love how there's very little dialogue. It's all visual. It's a very, very visual movie. And I love the special effects. Yeah, it's a great one if you haven't seen it. But I'm pretty sure everybody's seen it at this point. Really?
Yeah.
Solaris is better.
Okay.
Solaris is that's so funny.
San
That you say that.
Francisco does like daily screenings of it, and that's how I want to watch it for the first time.
It's so funny that you say that.
Why is it?
It's such a fun. It's just such a no. I'll tell you when it gets to my.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's so funny that you say that. Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. What'd you say, Nathan?
He said that. Yeah, go ahead.
Solaris is better. Than
Okay. I haven't seen that one yet. I hear that one's really good too.
It's just the one I prefer, but they're both similar in the sense that they spent a long time on one thing. They take their time, both movies.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, let's move on to our number 2s.
I think we've kind of talked about this already. The thing is, I guess everything that everyone said and more. This is also one that has a lot of significance in my family. And honestly, when I first watched it, I thought, okay, that was good, but whatever. But then, like, I know that, like, I don't know, I started listening to the soundtrack more, and I was like, wow, I remember that and that and that. Okay, I need to watch this movie again. And And so I ended up watching it like repeatedly, and I just sort of loved it more and more. But actually, like when it was re-released for its 60th anniversary like last year, and seeing it on the big screen was like totally life-changing. Like it was phenomenal seeing like this story and like those colors and that's like choreography and seeing that story play out like on that big screen. So that honestly boosted the movie up to a 10 for me. So
Absolutely.
we can just move on.
Sure, yeah. All right, Adrien.
Yeah.
So, Nathan?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I'm changing my background, so
No
it's not just my bed.
No problem, no problem. Okay, so what I wanted to say was that I saw Solaris in a very special screening. What was it, about 2 months ago, and there was a Q&A with it. There was a whole presentation. I loved Solaris. It's a 10 out of 10.
Yes.
But Space Odyssey is also a 10 out of 10. and the big debate, and actually it's a debate that started since the 70s, was which is the better film between Space Odyssey and Solaris. So what you were saying, it's hilarious because it's what everyone was talking about in the room in which I saw Solaris. Was there was the team Solaris and Team Space Odyssey that were fighting against each other with batons and bones and and arguments, right? And the argumentation was that Space Odyssey was a more sterile, colder, more robotic approach to humanity's future, whereas Solaris was a much more poetic approach, a much warmer approach, an approach that felt, well, it is a love story in a way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it definitely is.
Right. Whereas a Space Odyssey is about who are we and where are we going?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think they're both as good as each other. I have to put Space Odyssey above Solaris for the fact that I've seen it more times. Sure. And I saw this film when I was 17 for the first time, then 19 for the second time, then 21 for the third time. And every time I watched it, I saw something new and learned something new. Nice. And we still don't know the half of it. But totally. I feel like the clear path of mankind versus technology, and then how we deal with it, how we go beyond it, how we confront death, how we get above and beyond our mere human issues. I feel like for now is told more, I don't know if efficiently is the right word, but in more, I think, for now, more creatively in Space Odyssey. I find the framing in Space Odyssey to be absolutely wonderful. I mean, you can think of these effects that were made in 1968, right? They hold up to this day. Mm-hmm. It's mind-boggling how avant-garde it is, how ahead of its time it is. So it's just, that is incredible. Every moment is to be cherished and to be thought about, and the monkeys and the river and the leopard and the visual vistas. It's a sight for sore eyes, and it is a true it is the true philosophical film of our century. Of cinema itself. So yeah, number 2.
Nice.
But when I rewatch Solaris, or maybe in a few years, maybe I'll change my mind. Who knows? Because Solaris is so incredible and so poetic and so visceral. Those are visceral experiences that you get so rarely these days, or any days for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Right. I've seen both of them once, so they're both tied right now, but I still prefer
Solaris. Yeah. I get it. I get it. For sure.
All right. You're number 2, Nathan.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. I was going to say, and the good old ugly, but I was like, that will throw it off. I just love this movie. It is my favorite Western of all time. I'll be quick with my thoughts, but I just wanted to briefly say that I love how each story, from the good, the bad, and the ugly, they come together through the 3-hour runtime. They're all going to the same end goal, and I love the way that they interact with each other and the iconic music, of course. And then by the time we get to the ending, there are just so many cool moments, just like so many cool moments. And I think that's what I love about this movie. Just a very cool Western. And I love Clint Eastwood in it too. And we lost Michelle. I think Michelle was offended by my number 2 pick.
She was. Yeah, that's what she said in the comments.
I'm out.
That's right. I agree with you, and I think not only is it such a great Western, it's a great war film. It's a great film on the Civil War. It's one of the greatest films on the Civil War ever made.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, like there's so many moments of just conversations about the war, about the Union, about the Confederation, right? It's and it's a buddy comedy at the same time.
There's some funny moments, absolutely.
Tuco.
Oh,
it out of the park.
The
best character, greatest character, one of the greatest characters in a Western period.
Yeah, he's great.
And and the ending, of course. I mean, it's pure cinema. It's pure cinema. For sure.
Oh, I love it.
Is Michelle coming back? Or did you offend her too much? I mean, I
guess I did. Jeez,
Westerns, spaghetti Westerns are a tricky subject matters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I crossed the line. I'm just surprised it hasn't been mentioned. Maybe it was mentioned and I missed it. But
no.
Okay. Well, let's go to Harrison's number 2 and then wait until late. Let's wait and see if Michelle comes back.
Real quick, I actually have a hot take on the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, I actually think Fistful of Dollars is the better movie.
Really?
Yeah. I thought this one was too long. I don't know. I wasn't feeling the 3 hours.
I love the story of it. I love how, yes, it's long, but I love how each of them, like, they all know each other, but especially Blondie and Tuco know each other, the good and the ugly. And I love how they have to work together because they each have an important item of information that one can't move forward with without the other. Yeah. And then the bad is right there with them, trying to get to the destination too. And even there's one scene in particular that not a lot of people talk about. It's Tuco's torture scene where the men outside are playing the instruments and singing while he's getting beat up for information. That's such a powerful and like messed up scene at the same time. You see the soldier crying as he's playing. I just think it's such a beautiful scene.
Are you talking about when Lee Van Cleef tortures Tuco?
Yeah, it's when he's trying to get information out of him, and on the outside you see the soldiers playing their little musical piece, and it's like, yeah, we know it. They say something like they play that every time he tortures someone, and it's just like a powerful scene.
Right. That's interesting. I have to go back and watch that because I remember on that table, right, on that wooden table, the food, and he seduces him with the food and the wine,
totally,
right?
Yeah,
and then brings it into the thing. I agree, and also, so Carson said, Enrico Morricone obviously is the epitome of all these movies, but I will say one thing about what Harrison just said. I actually am on the camp that Fistful of Dollars is a great movie. I think it's a better film than For a Few Dollars More, which came right after, and that's an unusual take. I know most people prefer For a Few Dollars More, but A Fistful of Dollars, I don't know if I gave it the same grade on Letterboxd. I gave Fistful of Dollars a 4 and The Good and Bad and the Ugly a 4, and I think that they're both similar, but I prefer the good. I think The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a better film. But I will say about Fistful of Dollars, the violence in that movie, and the way the hero is truly hurt and cannot save the people that he's supposed to save, was absolutely groundbreaking for the time. No one had ever seen that. The hero always prevails, and in this case, he didn't, and they died, and so only after months later could he have his revenge. And I thought
Yeah.
that was much better done in that film than in Yojimbo, which it's a remake of, right? In Yojimbo they made it more comedic. It's the same thing that happens, but it's funnier, it's goofier. Whereas in Fistful of Dollars, it's absolutely serious. The man
Yeah.
cannot do anything. He is way too wounded, and so he cannot do anything. That's it. That's the end of that. Right? They are going to suffer because of that, and those are the consequences of getting caught. So that was a truly an incredible detail in that film that I'll never forget, and that's why I rated this high. So I will give I will give you that, Harrison. I think that there is much reward in that movie that is not talked about enough.
All right. So I know Nathan's got to go pretty soon, so we'll kind of wrap up here real quick.
Don't go, Nathan.
I'm sorry.
So real briefly, number 2, already talked about it a bit. Lawrence of Arabia.
Who was Lawrence of Arabia? Okay, got it.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed the number 4 of everyone's list.
Yes. Adrien
Okay, cool.
did that one.
Nice. I need to rewatch it.
What was that?
Oh, sorry. I just said I need to rewatch it. I've only seen it once, and it's not on my list. I need to rewatch it.
Cathartic experience.
Yeah. I need to give it another shot.
Definitely. I love the transition between him holding the match and then the sunrise. That's a beautiful scene. Just the desert landscape in general. The scene with the Sharif riding on the camel towards him. That's a beautiful shot. Yeah, I think this is my favorite David Lean film. I've seen 3 of them. I've seen this one. Just finished Dr. Zhivago.
Yeah.
And Bridge on River Kwai. I like all 3, but this is definitely the best.
And you should then check out the 4th, which is the India one.
Passage to India.
Passage to India, which I didn't really like, but it's still worth checking out. As his last movie.
Yeah. Well, they all have Alec Guinness, so maybe I'll like it.
They all have Alec Guinness. I don't think he's in Passage to India.
No, I thought he was.
I don't think maybe, but I don't think so.
I don't know.
Oh, you're right. He is. He's at the beginning. You're right.
Okay.
He is at the beginning. Correct. All right, number 1.
Yes, we'll go on to our number 1, and haven't heard back from Michelle yet, so we'll go to sound reviews. We'll go to yours, Adrien.
Right. So it's hard to make this brief with this because this is the film on filmmaking, right? It is the ultimate film on making.
Absolutely.
It's a dream. It's a dream. It's one of the greatest surrealist films ever made. It's Fellini. It's 1963. I hope I'm making this right because 1960s La Dolce Vita, 1963 is 8.5. So that came out the same year as The Leopard from Visconti, just so that I have in check. Mastroianni's greatest performance, greatest role. It's Fellini making his most personal film. It's about a filmmaker who's afraid to make films, who doesn't know what he's doing, who's constantly in doubt. And so we are seeing what is in his head entirely, in his dreams, with his women, with his ambition, with his storytelling. And it just brings all of this to this almost this chaotic, there's this chaotic harmony to it overall that makes it one of the absolute greatest film of all time. It's again a film that lives in you, and as an aspiring filmmaker, it's even more personal and it's even more interesting because you always come back to it, remembering that if Fellini was in doubt, if the master of masters, if the true master of his craft was as doubtful as he was in the character of Mastroianni in 8.5, then we can all pull through, we can all prevail, and so it's incredible. And I don't want to, dabble too much. There's a lot to talk about because every single scene is to be analyzed and overanalyzed. Scorsese has done that his entire life. And there's and he talks about this film wholeheartedly. But yeah, it's a very extremely special film that will forever live in me.
Nice.
All right, Nathan.
This is not only my favorite of the 60s, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. In the top 5, absolutely. Well, actually, it might be 6 now. I don't know. I think it's in my top 5. Anyways, there hasn't been any other movie that I've studied more than Psycho. Not even my favorite movie, It's a Wonderful Life. I think I have studied Psycho so much. I've watched the biography with Anthony Hopkins, and that isn't really kind of studying, but I've also, I read the book, the original book it's based off of, Psycho, and then Janet Leigh, who plays Marion Crane, of course, I read she wrote a book about her experience. It's kind of like a life story, but it's mostly her experience filming Psycho. And then the Hitchcock and Truffaut book I have up on my shelf right over here. I've studied this movie so much, and it's just such a fascinating movie to me. For that, it means a lot to me for that I've just had this big fascination. But the movie doesn't get old either. Like I was saying before the stream started, we kind of mentioned Psycho, and I was just saying how no matter how many times I view this movie, every time Marion pulls up to Bates Motel and you see the no vacancy sign, the windshield wipers, the rain's coming down hard, and you just see that sign, my heart always skips a beat, because I'm like, oh man, we're in for a crazy movie. I know what happens. I've seen it a lot of times, but yet every time I revisit it, it still impacts me the same. And I still look forward to every twist, every time the Bernard Herrmann music kicks in, every time something crazy happens. I just absolutely love it, and it's an all-time favorite for me, no doubt.
Yeah.
Amen.
Funny enough, I've seen so many clips from this movie, so many classes analyze it, but I have not seen it yet.
Oh wow.
Do you know Harrison? Do you know like the twist or anything?
Oh yeah, like
okay.
Tons of videos spoiling it. So
oh yeah, unfortunately I knew the twist even my first time, which I wish I didn't. But even knowing the twist, it's just like it never ceases to amaze me.
I'm always surprised, by the way. I don't know why I always forget. Like she's in the window. I'm like, oh right, yeah, his mother's there. Like, it's always like that with me.
That's so funny. That's hilarious.
You're number 1, Scullen.
Oh, I thought I just got a message from Michelle. Maybe not. All right,
Michelle. At least we've talked about Sound of Music.
You offended her so much, Nathan. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, interesting. Bailey says she did not know the twist when she was,
nice. Oh, I envy you, Bailey. That's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't. Me too. I didn't know that.
I envy both of you. I wish. It's one of my movie time travel wishes that I wish I could see that in 1960 in the theaters. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be so cool.
You know what I just remembered as well with Psycho? This is also the first film. Well, not the first film, but at least it's the oldest, one of the oldest memory where I remember having true nightmares about a movie. I remember not being able to sleep in my bed. I was about 12 years old when I saw it. I had to sleep in my parents' bed. I remember, she's back.
They're back. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Something happened. Sorry. I have just full disclosure. I have not been very well recently. So times being what they are, man. Whatever. But yeah, it's whatever. So I'm not turning my camera on. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm being super vague about it, but
you're good. You're good. No problem.
We were just hearing Adrien say how he has nightmares about Psycho.
Right.
Yes, and I was overhearing how you deeply offended me with
the bad and the ugly.
I offended you because my number 2 was Good, Bad, the Ugly, and you were like, nope, that's enough, and you left.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh my, no, it was, yeah.
The Psycho, the Psycho. I was 12 years old, and I remember having that for probably a month straight. So it's my first memory of that. My oldest memory of that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it when I was like sophomore in high school. So I saw it when I was older, and that's probably I always knew about it because I remember even being a kid, we had this like Halloween decoration we would hang in our door that said Bates Motel, and it would light up. And I didn't think it was my mom who told me, "Oh yeah, this is from the Bates Motel, the Psycho movie." And then my mom would spoil she spoiled the movie, and also like it's spoiled in mainstream media so much. But so even going into it, I knew it, but it still hasn't tarnished my love for it. Like even knowing the twist, it's just amazing.
For sure.
Well said.
Harrison, you're number one.
All right, my number one is Sound of Music.
There we
Hey,
go.
Michelle can have a talking point too.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to
Yes.
say I missed your number one, so you could talk as well. But real briefly, love the music. Gosh, what's my favorite song? There's too many to choose from, but I love Edelweiss, the So Long Farewell song. That one's always fun.
Yeah.
How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? Like, there's just so many great
yeah.
songs in this movie. And I love Christopher Plummer. He's amazing. Love him as that kind of stoic, stern figure. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. We already said a lot about it, but I love this movie.
Nice.
Uh,
Any last comments to add, Michelle?
I assume you all like passed through my number one, right?
Yeah. So we saw that your number one was Sound of Music, and we were kind of like, well, at least we were able to talk about it because like all of us have talked about it now.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
like any last minute comments?
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those movies where like you remember like watching it as a kid and you remember hold on. What? Sorry. You remember watching it as a kid and it's like, oh yeah, that was a really great movie. And then when you watch it like 10, 15 years later, you're like, oh my gosh, why is this still so amazing? And why is it just as amazing as I last remember watching it when I was whatever years old? And yeah, I think that's, yeah, out of all like the movies from my childhood, this is probably the one that has retained like it being like just fantastic and like just as amazing as I remember watching it as a kid, and just as magical as I remember watching it as a kid. As corny as that may sound, but it's the truth. Just saying.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it'll always have a special place for me in that regards because I don't know, it still gives me that feeling, you know. Yeah.
So
Nice.
how rare is it when we find films that we watched as kids that still not only hold up as adults, but they're even better and
Totally.
and you just remember
Yeah.
you just remember it. It brings back so many emotions. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. All right.
All right.
That's our list, everyone. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Bailey's favorite was Plein Soleil. So
Yeah,
purple.
Bailey's sharing her list right now.
Oh, okay.
The Purple Noon is the one I was talking about with Delon. Is the one that he made with Rocco and his brothers the same year
Mm.
in 1960.
Okay.
Belle de Jour, of course. Persona, of course,
Psycho number 5.
for sure.
Breakfast at Tiffany's. I've talked about that one with Bailey.
You remember my hot take on that, Nathan. We're not.
Yeah, no, breakfast. No, yeah, I actually wasn't a huge fan of it either. And
Oh yeah, right.
I wanna rewatch it because I want to give it another chance. But yeah, no, I'm of that same mindset.
And she has the Young Girls of Rochefort, which is the me movie that
Mm.
right after Girls of Cherbourg. And Belle de Jour
Okay.
is the what's his name? Louis Buñuel film, another surrealist film, French surrealist film of that era.
Yeah.
I don't know which one exactly. Pierrot Le Fou is my favorite Godard as well.
That's a Criterion. I need to see it.
Pierrot Le Fou and Bonaparte, two of my favorite Godards. And I'm not a big Godard fan, but those two for sure. And Léon Morin Priest is an incredible Melville film with Belmondo as the priest.
So, Adrien, I didn't acknowledge this earlier, but I love your background. Oh my gosh, it gives off such whimsy.
Oh, you mean the French background?
Yeah,
Oh, the background.
yeah,
background. Yes.
yeah. And I
I'm
might be
actually in
biased because I
French
see that you
background's
have
cool
like.
too, man.
Yeah, no. I'm actually in my niece's room.
Oh,
So-
okay. Well,
so-
compliment your niece.
For sure, we'll do.
She has very good taste.
We'll do.
It's the innocence is so good, Bailey.
The Innocence, that's an incredible horror. as
Yes,
well.
it's
Of
like
that
it's
era.
scary. Yeah, it's scary too.
See, that's similar to The Haunting by Robert Wise.
I need to watch The Haunting.
So La Piscine is essential. Le Samurai, that's the most important Melville film.
Definitely on my watch list.
Oh, La Prisonnière is the last Clouseau movie, Nathan. That's his
Oh,
last
okay.
film. That
Oh,
I wasn't such a big fan of it, but it was like he was supposed to do another movie called Hell, which he didn't do, and then Chabrol remade it in the 90s. But La Prisonnière is like his take on that. Is like his take on the
Okay.
film that
oh,
failed.
cool. I'll have to add that
earlier.
to the watch list.
Yeah. So that it has very interesting vibes and interesting creative ideas to the editing and the colors and the cinematography.
My friend
nice.
just missed. Hold on, I just realized a friend of mine was just streaming, and they were like, "You were awesome," like trying to like pump me up or something.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, I know Nathan's got to get going.
Yeah,
but
I got a dip, guys. I'm sorry.
it's all good. But thank you so much for coming on today, guys. This was
Thank
a
you.
blast. I had a great
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
Thank you for having us for sure.
Yeah,
Sorry about
thank
my
you.
technical difficulties.
Yeah.
I would say on all of our parts, no, on Nathan's part and partially kind of my part, but not less of a technical difficulty and more of a whatever. But I don't know. I'm rambling now, and I should probably stop. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And all the links to their social media and all that, they're in the chat, or not in the chat, in the description. So make sure to follow them on Instagram, Letterboxd, whatever, wherever it may be. And yeah, any last words before we head on out, guys?
Get the hell out.
Thank you,
Oh,
Harrison.
that was
As
good.
always,
That was
Harrison, if you do change your mind, which I think you should, about about doing a top 10 of the 70s, I know it's not in your realm of films that you talk about, but if you ever change your mind, I'd love to be a part of it. I'm sure everyone here would as well. So
The 70s is good.
For sure.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, this has been Really Old Movies. Thank you so much for coming. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
But